Let's just get this video done so we can all go back to playing Legends Arceus like I know we want to. Hey everybody, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today, like I said, I actually didn't say what we're doing. I never explained what we're doing, but you've probably figured it out by the thumbnail and the title and all that kind of stuff, so whatever. We're looking at a Lucario VStar deck, and the reason is because I literally just minutes ago pre-ordered the Lucario V Special Collection box from Poke Collect, which I'll have a link to in the video description. And I said, you know what, I've been playtesting this deck at locals, and if you're part of the Discord, I've put the link, the deck list in the Discord, and I posted it up on Twitter, and there's been a lot of interest in it. And I don't see anybody else talking about it, mostly because it's like 2 months away. We have to get through all of February, all of March, and it comes out. So I guess we should talk about what the thing is. So the Lucario VStar Premium Collection box releases on April 8th, and it comes with a full art Lucario V, a Lucario VStar, a pin, a coin, 6 packs, and then a code card for the online game. So cool, comes with a bunch of stuff. But are the cards, like obviously the packs and stuff or whatever, we're here to talk about the competitive viability of Lucario V and VStar, and so let's, I guess, get into it. So here we are once again at Pokegear, link in the video description as well, and we're going to talk about the different cards. There are a couple of cards that might be new to you, and some cards that you might have seen but aren't super familiar with, and what the strategy of this particular build is. And we'll also talk about a couple of other ways you can build this deck, but so far I've happened to like this one the most. So we have Lucario V. This is the Champions Path version. This is not the one you're going to be getting in the Lucario V-Star box. That one is a little bit different, but I do kind of like this one. 1 fighting energy does 40 damage, and it does 20 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. 210, 2 retreat, so air balloon, stuff like that. It also has beatdown smash for 2 fighting and a colorless, does 180, but you can't use beatdown smash during your next turn. Now this is actually pretty nice because we compare this with Choice Belt, and Choice Belt does 30 additional damage to Pokemon V, so that 180 plus 30, you're now hitting for 210, and you're knocking out a lot of Vs. Maybe not all of them, but a good amount of Vs. The one that comes in the box has a fighting and 2 colorless, and it does a flat 120, and it also has a 2 colorless, does 50, but you get to discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So there might be a scenario where you run maybe 3 of the Champion's Path, and then 1 of the V-Star box one. I guess what would be, I guess it's the promo, right? It's not part of a set. So interestingly enough, you get a full art, not the original art that we were shown when Lucario V and V-Star were shown in the in their start decks that they're coming a part of in Japan. So Japan isn't getting a box like we are. This is actually coming as part of a full 60 card deck. But the Lucario V we saw there is the regular art, and the promo box is going to have the full art. So who knows, maybe the Lucario V will, like the regular art will be in a different set or something, I don't know. But either way, so you might be running like 3 Champions Path Lucario Vs and then 1 promo Lucario V. We also have, of course, Lucario V-Star. Now, I apologize for the image. This is the only English card in English that is available. So sorry about that, but it has Fighting Knuckle, 1 fighting, 2 colorless energy. It does 120 damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon is a V, it does an additional 120, and most Pokemon are going to be Vs. So now we're doing 240, which is knocking out many Vs, and if you add on Choice Belt, you're hitting for 270, which is knocking out every V and most V-Stars. So the only one you won't knock out is Charizard V-Star because it has 280 health. However, they are likely to use Magma Basin to accelerate energies, and that does 20 damage to the Pokemon they accelerate to. So now that Charizard actually only has 260 health, which means now it's in range of getting 1 shot. So Lucario V-Star can be taking out a lot of stuff that's not V-Maxes. Sort of. We can actually work this. One of the reasons I'm so excited about this deck is that we can work it so that we are taking one shots on VMAXs, but we'll get there. So Arceus V and Arceus VStar. The reason why we're using this is because it has the Trinity Charge attack. I don't know why it moved all the way over there. Arceus V has the Trinity Charge attack for 2 colorless energies, search a deck for 3 basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon V however you want. This is a great way to start off turn, or you go second, right? And now you use Trinity Charge, just attach a double colorless energy, and boom, there you go. You can start powering up Lucario V on the bench. If you're playing something that's maybe Psychic and you don't want to use Lucario V, then you can power up other Arceus in the back as well. So this is really nice because we have a good secondary attacker, and the Arceus V, we don't really want to use Power Edge, but we do want to hit with Trinity Nova. Trinity Nova, 3 colorless energies, hits for 200, and we get the same search your deck for 3 basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon V. Really cool. Again, add that choice ball. You're hitting for 230. Now, that's enough to knock out Vs. However, if we use a double turbo energy, then we're only going to be hitting for 210. Still enough to knock out many Vs, but not every V. So something to consider there. A potential turn 1 would look like you attach a fighting energy to an Arceus V, evolve into Arceus VStar, double turbo energy, boom, Trinity Nova, power up Lucario on the bench. You're ready to go. I mean, it's pretty great. Lumineon V, it has the Luminicide ability, which is to search a deck for a supporter card and put it into our hand. This is going to come into play really a lot, honestly. You're going to be seeing a lot of Lumineon V. It only has 170 health, so even if someone does slap a Cape of Toughness on there to bring it to 220, Lucario V-Star is still going to be able to one-shot it, even without a choice belt. So in case somebody does something crazy to try to protect their Lumineon, it doesn't really matter to Lucario. Now, unfortunately, 2 of the cards here have not been have had English versions released yet, and one of them is this Sparkling Hawlucha. Now, this is a basic Pokemon. If you notice, it's a shiny version, and it has this rule box right above the ability and below the art image that says you can only have 1 Sparkling Pokemon in your deck. Not 1 Sparkling Hawlucha, 1 Sparkling anything. So we've seen a Sparkling Greninja, so you can't have Sparkling Greninja and Sparkling Hawlucha in your deck. You have to choose 1. But this has the ability Big Match, which when it's on your bench, your attacks do 30 more damage to Pokemon V Max, or at least your opponent's active Pokemon V Max, right? So now Lucario V-Star is going from 240 with Choice Belt to 270, and now we're at 300 with Hawlucha on the bench. And you might have noticed another supporter over here, Leon, during this turn your attacks do 30 more damage, which means you could one-shot a Pokemon VMAX with 330 health. We don't have to worry about like Eternatus or Gengar, because 1, Gengar is going to damage itself, and 2, they're both weak to fighting. We also don't have to worry about things like Jolteon, and then we haven't seen V-Star or anything like that for Raichu, Raikou, so those are all basic Pokemon, which means they're 240 is enough to knock them out with Fighting Knuckle, and even if they do have a Cape of Toughness or something, we're hitting for weakness, so we're actually hitting for 480 before adding something like Choice Belt, which is just insane. So anything that's weak to fighting, that also does include Arceus, and you're going to see a lot of Arceus here. So you're going to be forcing some easy knockouts, and that's kind of what Lucario wants to do. It doesn't want to go into the VMAX territory. You really just want to be focusing on V and V-Stars and just taking successive knockouts on them. So we power up a Lucario. We use Arceus to help us do that. We can kind of spread that energy between 2 Lucarios too, depending on if we're attaching double turbo energies and fighting energies, whatever we're doing from the hand. So things like Lumineon are going to help us find the Leon when we need it. It's going to help us find that boss's orders. It's also going to help us find Adventurer's Discovery, which lets us search our deck for 3 Pokemon V and put them to our hand. Now, this is really cool because we can search for Arceus V-Star, Lucario V-Star. We can search for Arceus V if we're going second and it's our first turn. We just search for Lucario, Arceus V, and then there you go. You can use this to like find, you use Lumineon to find Adventurer's Discovery so that you can find Arceus V-Star, evolve, use the Starburst ability, which we haven't talked about yet, to find yourself a double turbo energy and a switch, and now all of a sudden you can put you can start making some really cool, really interesting plays. You can find yourself, you use the Adventurer's Discovery Array, so you can find the Choice Belt, and you can find the, whatever else you could possibly need. So how else are we going to find stuff that we need? Well, we do have Bibarel here. Hardworking Fangs, once during your turn, you may draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. We do have 2 as a nice little bench draw engine. And then, of course, we do have 4 copies of Professor's Research. We mentioned Starbirth. And the reason I'm mentioning it now is because it's a search ability. Starbirth is what's called a VStar power. Pokemon VStar all have a VStar power, and they can be in the form of an ability like you see here with Arceus, or they can be an attack that you see with Lucario. Starbirth lets you search your deck for any 2 cards you want and then put them into your hand, and that's it. Now the trade-off is that you can only use 1 V-Star power per game. This is not 1 V-Star power per Pokemon, so I can't use Arceus's V-Star power and Lucario's V-Star power, even though one's an attack and one's an ability. You get to choose 1. And more often than not, at least in the test games I've done, I have not used Lucario's V-Star power, even though I'm sure at some point I will. I haven't yet. So Starbirth is an incredible V-Star power. It's a great ability. It does get shut off by Path to the Peak, even though it's a V-Star power. You can still see that it clearly says ability right here, versus something like Lucario V-Star. This is just an attack, which means even though it's a V-Star power, it would not be turned off by Path to the Peak because it's not an ability. Now, this does 70 times each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon for just a fighting and a color, so it's really easy to power up. And you can use this in a pinch, especially if you're playing against a deck with something like Shadow Rider or Raichu, where they really want to build up a ton of energies. Again, against Raichu, you probably don't need to because Fighting Knuckle is enough, but just in case you can't get that 3rd energy attachment on there, Aura Star is a good attack. This could work really well against any deck that wants to build a ton of energies. There aren't a ton outside of things like Shadow Rider. Mew likes to have some energies in play for Melodious Echo, but things like Mew and Shadow Rider, you probably don't want to be using Lucario anyway, just because they're going to one-shot you. So keep that in mind. We do have Arceus as our secondary attacker if we are playing a Psychic deck. In terms of other search, we have Quick Ball, Ultra Ball. This is coming in Brilliant Stars. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Search for any Pokemon you want. Really good for finding those V-Stars and evolution Pokemon like Bibarel here. You can find Hawlucha if you need to do that quick 30 damage to a VMAX. Evolution Incense to again find V-Stars and Bibarel. We talked about Choice Belt and our supporters. The one card we didn't talk about yet is also this item card called Gutsy or Gritty Pickaxe. I'm not sure exactly what the translation is going to be, but what this does is you reveal the top card of your deck. And if it's a basic fighting energy, you can attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. If it's not, you put it in your hand. And this is a really good kind of just draw 1, if anything, right? You say you use Bibarel to draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, and you're like, okay, well, I have 2 Gritty Pickaxes, so I'm just going to play 1, reveal the top card. If it's an energy, cool, I get to accelerate it. If it's not, I just drew an extra card. And you could be drawing 7 cards in that scenario, plus something like a Professor's Research to see 14 cards, and then, oh wait, we still have Starbirth, so you could potentially get 16 cards in this hypothetical situation that I made up, not including the one you draw for your turn, which is a total of 17 cards. It's more than a quarter of your deck in one go. And then if you dump all those cards and you have another Bibarel on the bench, well, then you can use Hardworking Fangs again to draw up until you have 5 cards. So you can really dig pretty deep, and that's something I have noticed with this particular build, is that there are times where I'm like, man, I only have a handful of cards left in my deck. I need to wrap this up quickly. You do kind of go through it a little bit faster than you might realize. So with this gritty pickaxe, something that a lot of people have suggested is the use of something like a Rangaroo or switching cups. And I prefer a Rangaroo because it's something you could just throw on the bench, and now you leave it there. And then whenever you have Gritty Pickaxe and a basic fighting energy in your hand, you just use a Rangaroo's ability to put the fighting energy on the top of your deck, and then you play Gritty Pickaxe to accelerate that to a bench Pokemon. So you could do that. Switching Cups works the same way as a Rangaroo's ability, except it's an item card. The reason I don't like that is because you're forced to have 3 cards in your hand at once. You have to have a switching cup, an axe, and an energy. It's a lot of setup to just accelerate one energy. And there may be times when you're like, man, I really wish I could accelerate one more energy this turn, but I mean, I would hate to use, Starburst to find one or two of those pieces so that I can accelerate an energy. It would seem like a waste of an extremely powerful ability. So I elected to run none of those. Again, you could run a Rangaroo if you choose. I don't really recommend those switching cups because then you need, 2 or 4 switching cups, and that takes up what otherwise is a fairly valuable space. Some people think this might be a little clunky, a little... it might look like it, but it kind of works well. At least, again, in the early testing that I've done, it works kind of well. Who knows, as we see more cards from an upcoming set. We kind of know what's coming in Brilliant Stars, but in the set after Brilliant Stars, our May set, we don't know what support for fighting Pokemon we are going to find. So who knows, there could be a really cool stadium that we want to add. There might be another or a totally different Pokemon VStar that we want to use instead of Lucario, like a different fighting type that you might find in Legends Arceus, for example, without giving away any spoilers. So this deck is super, super early, and I know some people might be like, oh, you shouldn't even put up this, that's way too soon, and they have an argument, but at the same time, all of the cards here are cards that we know are coming or are already out. And so I'm pretty comfortable putting up this deck list. Am I saying it's going to be a tier 1 deck? No. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what the meta is going to look like. This is just a build that I made. Could you go 2 switches? Yeah. Could you do a switch and an escape rope? Sure. I don't really recommend air balloon just because we're going to have 3 choice belts. Why so many choice belts? Well, I really want to make sure that I'm putting that on so that I can hit as hard as I possibly can against Pokemon and V Stars. Even with Arceus here, without a choice belt, and I have a double turbo energy on there, I'm not knocking out any Pokemon V with the exception of like Lumineon and Crobat, Eldegoss, Kricketune, stuff like that. So like those bench supporters. So if I want to knock out like an attacking Pokemon V, I probably need Choice Belt. So I really want to make sure that it is accessible to Lucario and Arceus for that reason. But yeah, that's pretty much the list. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And yeah, I'll go switch the screen, I guess. Before we wrap this up, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because if you do, you have a chance to win something. We're giving away all this plus some PTCGO codes. So win or subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. And when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing this really, really cool giveaway. And I'm going to wrap this up because like I said, I want to go play Legends Arceus. So thanks so much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. And I will see you next time.